What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. You're getting lots of them this week. We have already dropped our Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man primer, everything you need to know. They're introducing a bunch of new characters, and we are going to break them all down for you. We already did, and now we're going to do the exact same thing for Daredevil Born Again. We got a Comic Corner coming this week. We got our Severance Season 2, Episode 2 breakdown coming on Friday. So it's a jam-packed week for the Agents of Fandom. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, joined, as always, by my good friend and co-host, Damon Gray. How you doing today, Damon?
I'm doing great. Very excited to talk about a show that is possibly, for all of us, our most anticipated show of the year, especially for Marvel projects, possibly out of all the Marvel projects, if not Fantastic Four. Daredevil Born Again, our Daredevil Season 4, our Save Daredevil. It's been saved and allegedly was possibly saved again in the process. So this is a show that we've all been waiting for, and it's finally here. We
couldn't agree more. I'm excited for it as well. I truly forgot how damn good this show was. I'm in the midst of my rewatch right now. I'm just coming to the conclusion of season 2. I still haven't decided what I want to do after season 2. If I want to go into, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, maybe into Defenders, maybe into Punisher. But just straight from the very first episode, I was shocked going back to rewatch, probably my 4th time rewatching this series. But I was shocked going back just how damn good the pilot episode is. The first episode gives you absolutely everything you could ever need. It intros you to all the important players of the first season. It shows you why Matt's doing it. It gives you his quick backstory, and of course, you get more as you go along. But you get the gist of it in the first episode. You get some great action sequences, and it hooks you right at the end with an awesome cliffhanger. So, really, really, just high quality television. And so I can't wait for the return on Disney Plus. Not gonna give anything away yet, but I will say I think we're gonna have some interviews coming up for this one. Fingers crossed everything goes well. We're gonna have interviews coming up for Captain America Brave New World. We're gonna have interviews hopefully coming up for Daredevil, absolutely, for Invincible, and lots more. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And so you don't want to miss out on any of our great shows. Because like I said, we got Comic Corner, we got Severance, we got Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil. So much coming over these next few months. Invincible. So much coming.
So much.
Over these next few months. Before we dive into the Daredevil talk, I did want to cover a little piece of news we got here throughout the day. And, you're barely on social media. Maybe you didn't even get to see it.
Saw maybe a little thing of it. I've been doing Blue Sky a little bit more, so I saw a little thing possibly.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch in an interview basically said he is this a spoiler? Oops. And he said he is not going to be in Avengers Doomsday, but he will have a very large role in Avengers Secret Wars. And so this actually is a refreshing piece of news, surprisingly for me, because this to me says we have a story we're going to tell. We're not going to jam in a bunch of people into the story that don't need to be there. And Doctor Strange right now is in the dark dimension with Clea.
He's with his goth girlfriend, he's chilling.
Is because I don't want to have that adventure be completed off screen. I want that to be done on screen, Doctor Strange 3. And so if he's still out there in the dark dimension, that's why he's not in Avengers. That makes sense to me that he wouldn't be in the next Avengers movie based on the story that they're currently telling. Having said that, we are getting Robert Downey Jr. returning not returning, but we're getting him returning as a different character as Doctor Doom. I'm kind of surprised that they're taking away one of the main people for their first Avengers movie since Endgame. But from a storytelling standpoint, I kind of like it.
Man, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Where do I even begin? First one, that is wild to me because Doctor Strange has been said that he is the anchor of the MCU since Endgame. That's not coming from me. That is coming from Mr. Kevin Feige himself. He said that Doctor Strange is
Yeah,
the
he said that about Spider-Man. He said that about a
of the
few different
MCU.
people.
But he's supposed to be the big point of the MCU going for, like, since the multiverse saga. He's the TJ. How many movies have we had so far
Yeah,
since Endgame?
he's the
We're in
guy.
the
If he's
what
not showing up,
saga?
it's
No,
wrong.
well, we're in the what saga, TJ, right?
Consciousness. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
no, no,
transfer
no.
the multiverse saga.
Thank you. Just throwing back to a joke since Agatha. Yeah, we are in the multiverse saga, right? How many movies have we dealing with the multiverse in the MCU? His. And that's it. Bro, that's it. And the Marvels for like 4 seconds.
And
For like 4
Spider-Man, which he
seconds.
was a
Oh, and
major
Spider-Man,
player.
which he was heavily involved in,
Yeah.
obviously. Yes, thank you. Him not being in the big thing to, the big climax of the multiverse saga tells me something, right? And I do have like comic knowledge on this, especially with Secret Wars, especially with Hickman's Secret Wars, right? Doctor Strange plays a massive, huge role in that story that I am intrigued how they're going to tell it. And I don't want to play spoiler here on here because if he's not going to be in Doomsday, and Doomsday is, let's say, the thing that ends the multiverse and kicks off Battle World or whatever, what is Strange doing at that time? Right? What is he doing at that time? If we're going off of Hickman's Secret War comics, he plays a big part in that. And there you go. Right? Now,
I'll get slightly potential spoilery with it because I haven't read it, and so I'm not spoiling. I'm just theorizing based on what I've heard. But if he isn't in Avengers Doomsday at all, and we know he's off in the dark dimension, he's trying to stop incursions. Incursions can't be stopped. And so, what do you think the odds are when Avengers Secret Wars happens that the first time we see him is partnered side by side with RDJ's Doctor Doom, because that's the only way he sees to save the multiverse. It's not like we've seen What If, we've seen Multiverse of Madness. It's not unlike a Strange to go to the dark side, especially after he's read the Darkhold.
I'd say you're on to something. Say you're on to something, man. If he's not going to be in Doomsday to stop all of this, where is he in the long run, right? There you go.
Wouldn't that be a little poetic if they have Doctor Strange on the evil side of this, and Wanda ends up being the one that saves the day?
But here's the thing: even though, because there you go, you figured out, you did it. Like Strange is the one who agrees with Doom. It's like he's the only one who could do this, and yeah, he is God. But damn, is he a good God? Like he's good at this. And this was the only way that he could save as much people as possible. I don't think he'll go fully evil. I think it's one of those, I see the long game here. And yeah, if I have to partner with him for a little bit, just to potentially, once again, as poetic as it is, like he did with Thanos, where in the long run, the only way to save everyone is to kill half of everyone in the making to bring them all back. He's going to have to do it again.
And, he doesn't have the time stone to see that this time, but he sure as hell has the hubris to think he's going to know
he has dark magic now. He's playing with it, man. He's
got the Darkhold. It's gone. He doesn't have it, but he read it, gave him his third little eye. He could be corrupted. It could be a evil Strange going forward. Not an evil Strange, but I promise you this is the right way. No, it's not the right way. Civil War kind of situation, but it's a civil war for the multiverse.
Civil War 2.
A secret war,
if
you will. But we're not here to talk about Secret Wars today. That was a fun piece of news that I wanted to cover. But we are here to talk about Daredevil Born Again. This is a weird situation for the MCU because it's an all-new series here in the MCU. But like you said, it's kind of a Daredevil season 4, and not only
absolutely is Daredevil season 4,
but it's also Daredevil wasn't just Daredevil. You know, it had its own Netflix universe, its own Defenderverse with Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and the Defenders.
Yeah.
Of these, now I'm of the the way I worded this in the rundown is what will be required viewing going into Daredevil Born Again.
Mhm.
The answer, nothing. That's the way they're doing things now. I think there will be absolutely nothing that is required.
Sure.
Having said that, the 3 seasons of Daredevil absolutely will enhance your experience. What would you say would be the next most important project outside of Daredevil? Would it be a Defenders verse one? Or would it be something like Echo, where we see a lot more of where Kingpin's been lately?
I'm gonna say, see, if you have to make me pick one, I don't want to pick one because I would have to say like the Defenders plus Jessica Jones thrown in there as well. I mean, because look, when you're talking about you don't know what you want to do next, if you want to watch Defenders or any other, Jessica Jones season 1 is the best season of any Marvel television thing ever. So like, I will highly suggest, like I will never not suggest that. I think Echo in terms of just the Wilson Fisk aspect, because we know where he is at the start of Daredevil. Again, like comics themselves, you do not need to read anything before going into a new run, into a new story, into a new volume. You can jump right in, and that's how a lot of people can do it with this Daredevil show. But I highly suggest watching Defenders in between seasons 2 and 3 because that is the leeway between there. They do explain things at the start of season 3 if you kind of want to skip it, and that's fine too. But if you're completionists, guys, you're gonna want to watch all the Defender stuff, man. You're gonna want to. I mean, you don't have to watch Iron Fist. You can skip that one.
And yeah, not only all the Defender stuff, but all of the additional MCU content that has included them since then as well. Now, the one thing I will say for Iron Fist, the reason it's worth it is because of the Defenderverse. One of the best characters among the entire group is Colleen Wing, Jessica Henwick's character. Also, Misty Knight, who is very prevalent in the Iron Fist series as well, more so in Luke Cage, more so in the Defenders, but 2 very solid characters in the not so great series. But I agree with you. I would say 3 seasons of Daredevil, maybe mix in some Iron Fist, but at least the first season of Jessica Jones, you can kind of skip it as they go along. Jessica Jones peaks
I like
so
season
high,
2.
Kind of goes.
I'm a
down
season 2 fan. Season 3 lost me. Once you get into the Hellcat thing, just,
yeah, season 2 is pretty solid, but season 3 not really required there. Luke Cage season 1 is truly incredible. It is wonderful, wonderful television. I still enjoy season 2, but it doesn't.
we didn't even say Punisher yet.
Oh, I know, I'm getting there.
Okay,
we didn't. We don't necessarily need to watch season 2 of Luke Cage. It's a big step down. I still enjoy it, but it's a big step down over the first one. Then, of course, there's the Defenders, but also there's the Punisher. And I think the most important thing to watch outside of Daredevil is probably the Punisher series. And the way to go about that, if you want to go super technical, you go season 1 of Daredevil, season 2 of Daredevil, Punisher, Defenders, season 3 of Daredevil. I think would probably be the best way to watch that. And then you have, in addition, since these characters have been integrated into the MCU, we've seen Kingpin and Hawkeye, and that is prevalent for where he's at in the MCU, what is going to pick up to be his story here in Daredevil Born Again, with him being a politician running for mayor. Is he already mayor? Is he running for mayor? We're not exactly sure yet. But also Echo would be the one I'd say is most important for that. And then if you just want some more Matt Murdock, you can check him out in She-Hulk, because that is a absolutely delightful show. Don't let the incels tell you any different. Punisher,
and that episode, in my opinion, is also the best episode of that whole series.
It's pretty awesome.
It's great.
Going back to Punisher here, that one is going to be among the most, I would say that, like we said, the most important outside of Daredevil. How important do you think his role will be in this series? Is he going to be cameoing for an episode or 2, or is he going to be a main character like he was in season 2 of Daredevil?
I don't see him being in it for more than 3 episodes. Maybe for like a little arc. I don't see him being in it very long. We have a lot of aspects in the series. We have obviously the Daredevil, but then you have like the overarching Mayor Fist saga. We have a villain who is a wild villain that we're going to be dealing with as well, and then you have the Punisher aspect, right? I don't know exactly. Oh, and we have another character too who we will be dealing with as well. We already have a lot on our plate. I do not, and I'm talking about White Tiger on that one. We already have a lot on our plate. I don't see them diving too deep into a Punisher story other than possibly setting him up for maybe his official MCU series. Now, let's not forget, everyone, these are now officially all these shows in the MCU timeline. You go on the Disney Plus timeline order, the official timeline order. That thing is green check mark approved. All these shows are on there. So if you're a completionist, an MCU completionist, and you haven't seen these, do so, because they're not just great television, but also the definition, everything that is this MCU street level stuff.
I'm so happy they didn't leave us hanging one way or another. Like as long as they didn't just leave us as like a I wonder if this is canon or not. Is this part canon? Is this part canon? I'm happy they just told us one way or the other. This is a reboot or it's all included. And that's what they did. They said, this is all included. Shout out to our guy, Matt Aguiar. We've been playing some Marvel Rivals with our guy, Matt, quite often. And who knows, maybe tonight when we're done recording. He said he thinks he's most excited for Jessica Jones to make a return at some point.
I am manifesting that, man.
Inevitable. They've got to bring Jessica Jones back at some point. She's one of those characters that basically anything street level they do, they can plug her in and make it work. We will get back to that a little bit later when we get to a different portion of the rundown. But what I want to talk about now is the characters we know who are appearing. Now, throwing this to you first, I do have a little bit of a source we can go to for this one, especially if you're not overly familiar. But the first one I want to talk about is the love interest for Matt Murdock in this series, because we've seen Elektra, we've seen Karen Page, we've seen, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting Rosario Dawson's character's name?
Night Nurse. I
know she's the night nurse, but the actual name of the character in the show. But we've seen Rosario Dawson. We've seen She-Hulk. Matt's a slut. We know Matt's a slut.
That's true.
But Damon, who the heck is Heather Glenn?
Heather Glenn.
Interest from this series that we see in the preview.
Yeah. No, Heather Glenn. Shock everyone. Everyone sit down. Are you ready? It's another love interest. She actually has a fairly tragic tale that I don't want to spoil if they go down that route, but it's very, very tragic. She does have a run-in with the Purple Man. Her dad was like manipulated by him at one point, ended up, ending his own life. But she did have, a little bit of a fling with Matt. And unfortunately, like a lot of Matt's flings, it didn't end well.
That's the thing with flings, is that at some point they're not necessarily happy ending stories, right? Because Matt's not a long-term relationship kind of guy. Foggy lets us know in like the first or second episode of the series. There's Elektra who's always going to be there. I mean, whether she's dead or alive, but in theory, there's Elektra who's always going to be there with these various stories. But other than that, Matt's going to get with everybody. He's been with Black Widow a bunch of times. Matt's the sluttiest one in the entire Marvel universe. But we have a great article from our own Ryan Cortero up at collider.com about who is Heather Glenn. He explains her entire comic origin, how she is related to Matt Murdock, what role she could play in this series. So if you want more about Heather Glenn, want to know who she is, how she could fit into the series, make sure you check out that article from Ryan. I dropped it in the YouTube chat. YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The next one is someone I'm actually skipping ahead a little bit, and we're going to skip one of the people I have on here that I actually don't think is going to play a huge role in this series, but we'll see. And go to someone who I think will play a much bigger role that I know you are very excited to show up in this series. and that is Muse.
Oh,
I know nothing about Muse. I've never seen
okay.
Muse in anything before. I want you to give me the intro and tell me why I should be excited.
Dude, this guy's a maniac. Like a total sociopath. He's an artist and he sees the world as his canvas. That he's created, I believe, in Charles Soule's run, same run where you are introduced to Blind Spot, which is Daredevil's little sidekick. Blind Spot ends up being a very tragically appropriate name for that character because Muse blinds him. He literally does like the whole fingers in the eye and blinds him. Muse, again, sociopath. He sees the world as his canvas. He will murder people, use their blood, their body parts, and turn it into art. When Fisk was mayor of New York and cracking down on vigilantes, Muse is over here making murals defending the vigilantes, right? It's just like when I mean grotesque sociopath, I need you to realize that this show being rated TVMA may not be enough for what this guy does. It is grotesque. It is literally Art the Clown level stuff that he does to these people. It's gross. You will fear him. He does have some like weird abilities, which is like, the enhanced agility reflexes, all that stuff. But he also essentially has this ability that makes it so it's like Matt can't see him. It's like a sensory deprivation, absorption type of thing. Long story short, you just have to know that like Daredevil has a hard time tracking this guy. He is brutal. He
That's
is
what I was going to ask you.
terrifying.
How heavily do you think they're going to dive into that supernatural superpower aspect of it?
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to have the full sensory deprivation towards Matt? Maybe that's why he has to call in the Punisher.
You know what I'm going with, because the street level stuff is very grounded. However, we cannot forget that Matt deals very often, as we see in the Defender show and a lot of season 2, he deals very often with the mystical side of things. I would not be surprised if they don't go like the full like sensory deprivation, but maybe they can make him almost like a living corpse where he doesn't have a heartbeat, and that's why Matt can't track him, type of thing.
I almost wonder a little bit
It'd be very hand.
if there'll be some type of connection to Vanessa Fisk with Muse, because
Oh, the
she was
artist aspect?
from the art gallery kind of things. I've just as a interesting little tie-in of maybe those characters could be related in some way. Just because we know Vanessa was an art dealer when we met her in Daredevil. Maybe not. It could just be art is a pretty big field. It could be completely non-existent in terms of the ties. But that was something that I thought of maybe these people are connected a little bit. What role do you think Bullseye is going to play in this series?
Okay.
He's the main villain of season 3. He's badass as hell. And we do see him in the trailer for Daredevil Born Again.
I have a theory, man. I have a theory, and this may be a crazy theory, but I do know this. This run very clearly has Charles Soule influences, obviously, but we know it has heavy Chip Zdarsky influences. And Chip Zdarsky's run is the most recent run prior to this one from Saladin Ahmed. And the whole point of that run, and we see it in this trailer, noted at least, is that run starts off with Daredevil accidentally killing a man. And he crossed his line as Daredevil, as Matt Murdock says in this, "Why aren't you a vigilante?" There was a line and it was crossed. There's a shot in here where we see Daredevil holding a limp man. What if it's Bullseye? What if he goes too far and kills Bullseye? Because I don't see him playing a long-term role. Either that, or somebody else is blamed for that death. And we'll get to that. I think there could be, I think someone dies. I would not be surprised if it is Bullseye. I think it's going to be a little bit more complicated than Matt throwing himself. Daredevil throws himself into prison. He is in prison as Daredevil, never takes off the mask.
I like it. I think that's a really cool theory.
But
I love when
yeah.
Damon dives into theory mode, and I think that is a really, really good one. You mentioned that one character who's set to appear in the series that you don't know too much about from
I
a
do
comic
now.
standpoint is White Tiger.
I do
Hector
now.
Ayala. Have you done some research into this
Yes,
character?
sir. Not a character I'm overly familiar with. However, I do read a decent amount of Daredevil, and I went back to read this very important arc with Hector Ayala. Very important arc. It's essentially like his coup de grace of the arc. And it goes back to my little theory, TJ. It goes back to it. Because what if they kind of team up, right? Hector Ayala, he's a superhero. He's White Tiger. He has a tiger amulet, and it gives him enhanced strength, agility, all that good jazz, right? He is influenced to go out and be like a vigilante. He wants to go out and be a superhero. Let's go back to this. What if one day he's trying to maybe take down Bullseye, and Daredevil shows up, and maybe that's his blind spot in a way. They're teaming up. That's his little guy. And Daredevil's the one who accidentally kills him, but White Tiger's the one who's blamed for it. And it goes back to this because that coup de grace of White Tiger is he is wrongfully blamed for murder, and Matt Murdock is his lawyer. I'm not going to go into what happens. Again, potential huge spoilers there. But a lot of people do know White Tiger as Ava, right? But there was one before her, and it was her brother.
I thought it was her dad.
Brother.
Oh, and so I was gonna say when I met Ava Ayala, the White Tiger was in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and in that situation, I believe they have it as she took the mantle from her father. But that's an interesting change. I didn't realize that. I thought it was the dad. I'm excited for this character. This is really cool that they're bringing it in here. The White Tiger, specifically the Hector Ayala version, was the first Latino superhero in all of the mainstream comic books. He was also the first Puerto Rican superhero in Marvel and DC comic books. So really cool that we're bringing him in here. I, like you, don't know too much of his story other than he's got a tiger amulet and he was really friggin' badass. And he has a little bit of accelerated healing, accelerated speed, accelerated
good stuff, you know.
all the typical, accelerated super soldiery like components to characters that they have in comic books. What's your best guess for like the main villain of this series? Is it going to be Kingpin? Is it going to be Muse? Is Muse the day-to-day thing that Daredevil has to handle while Matt Murdock is plagued by what Kingpin's doing in the real world?
Dude, there's so many ways that they can go with this. I think technically the overarching villain, will be Kingpin. I don't see how anyone else it can't be. A fascinating aspect of when Kingpin is mayor. And by the way, do I think Kingpin is mayor already by episode 1? Yeah, I think so. That's how the comic works. Literally, Daredevil Matt Murdock came off a plane, looked at a newspaper, and went, WTF just happened while I was away. And I think that would be a fantastic place to start just the whole show, is Matt finding out that Kingpin is mayor of New York City. And one of the weird aspects of that, TJ, you may not know, is while Kingpin is mayor of New York, you know who his DA is?
Who?
It's Matt Murdock.
Oh, hell yeah. That's what that meeting is about.
Exactly. That's what I hope so. I hope so, because that's a cool way for Matt to get into the office and have to, that's how he gets his secret information. And Kingpin knows a little bit. However, we do know, at least in this universe, right? We do know at this point that Kingpin knows Matt Murdock is Daredevil. So I don't think that will happen, because in the comics, we can't forget, comics are weird. At that point, Matt Murdock's identity was out. The whole "I'm not Daredevil" thing and blah 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 blah. That whole thing kind of happened, and they used the Purple Man. It goes back to him to mind wipe everyone. And Kingpin feels like, I know who this guy is, but I don't know. There's something weird about it. It's staging in the back of my head, and that's also why he brings him in. So I almost talked myself out of this, actually, because he knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil in this universe, in the MCU. So that could also be so he still can. I think that'd be a weird little angle, actually.
That seems like something the MC, like this version of Wilson Fisk would do, would be like, I need to keep my enemy close to me so that I can keep an eye on him, type of thing. Or I'm trying to fix this city, and there's no one who's better keeping it in line than you. I went Mandarin a little bit there in my Kingpin. I kind of like,
and a
little bit of Mandarin.
I could always tell the world who you really are.
You'll never see me coming. I like it. I really like that potential way that those two could connect together. I want to switch, you know how for, you know, expectations, when we talked Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, we talked about the worries. Now, your worries for that, we're talking about potentially the animation, how that could look and things like that. I want to shift what we mean by the worries, and I don't mean the worries about the quality of the show. I want to know, who are you worried, if anyone, may not make it through? Do you think Karen and Foggy make it out of this series, at least the first season, alive? Because we know the original Daredevil series, not afraid to kill people off.
Sure. I think those two are safe. I think other people we've mentioned are not safe already. And I don't want to say names.
Outside of the Bullseye prediction.
Outside of the Bullseye prediction.
All right. Scary, scary. Do you think Karen and Foggy are making it through? I like it. I do worry about maybe Foggy. I hope so. I hope nothing happens to him, though.
I mean, look, if we are basing this off of Chip's Daredevil run, at least a little bit, I don't see us going into the second volume within the first season. And I'm sorry to break it to you, TJ, in the second volume, Foggy does die.
No!
And actually, a lot of people die. And it gets mad weird because we deal with the mystical side of Daredevil, and that's where you bring back the Punisher aspect, because here's Chip's run essentially in a nutshell, right? First one is him dealing with being in prison. Elektra becomes Daredevil. That's something I want to see in the MCU, by the way, and I absolutely love that. The second volume, we deal heavily with, you know, the war, the hand versus fist war, and here's a wild one. So Punisher, Frank Castle, actually becomes like the avatar of the Hand. He becomes like their Daredevil in a way. And
isn't this when he gets like his samurai stuff?
This is when the Hand, because Franken at this point is very easily manipulated, and they brought his family back essentially as like hand zombies. And you'd think like, oh, Frank's smarter than that. They didn't really write him that way. So he went full on into that, and the whole hand versus fist war ends up going on, and a bunch of people die, and then Matt has to die to go to hell to bring them all back. And then he realizes, here's a twist, TJ, he realizes that the god that he's essentially fighting for the fist his entire life is the devil, is a demon. There you go. Comics, baby. Comics are strange. So
This
yeah,
is
a
why
godly
you
man, a very
into-
religious Catholic man, was essentially his entire life devoted to a demonic demon.
This is why you got to check into Damon every Thursday on the Comic Corner, because they go in depth on some of the very best comics on the shelves. And I didn't know some of these parts of Daredevil's story, and it's making me even more excited for the series to see what parts tie in here. We know they've told us. I don't think we even have to speculate anymore. It's going to be dark. It's going to be bloody.
Comics.
It's going to be the same way it was in the original Netflix series. It's TVMA. They're not holding anything back here. They restarted the whole damn process because it wasn't the way that it was in the Netflix series. And they said, no, this was perfect. Everybody loved it. Why are we changing it? So they restarted the whole damn thing.
They saved it again.
Dark and violent. So we know that we're getting that. What we don't know is, even though we've seen Muse, we've seen White Tiger, we've seen Kingpin, we've seen Bullseye, we've seen Foggy and Karen, who do you think, same question as yesterday for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Again, if you haven't checked out our primer, everything you need to know about your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man before it premieres next week, find it on our YouTube page, subscribe, hit the like button, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our shows. Who are 2 characters, one you think is most likely to show up in this show that has not been announced? Looking at names like Elektra, looking at names like Jessica Jones. And who would be your dream to show up in this series?
All right, look, let me get the dream out of the way because I'm a very simple person, a very easy person. I am.
It's in New York. She needs a lawyer because she cracked the bell.
And we already know from some other trailers that went out earlier, pre this trailer, that, you know, some other potential young Avenger champions, whatever that flip we want to call them, whatever their title is going to be, he's helping them deal with the damage control folks that he even helped Spider-Man with, right? Like, he's helping these younger heroes in New York. Yeah, I want to see Kate Bishop involved. Duh. It would actually really be fun too to also see Ms. Marvel like in the show, which would also be like a hilarious turn from her being in a very bubbly mindset, a very bubbly show, to like this very dark show. Yeah, I want to see Jessica Jones. I need Jessica Jones again. Out of all the Defender stuff, Jessica Jones was actually the very first Marvel Defenders show I ever watched. That's how I got into like the Netflix Marvel stuff. I didn't even know Daredevil was going on, honestly, until I heard Jessica Jones was like going on. I'm like, what? Let me watch this. And that first season, like I've mentioned earlier, remains my favorite and best over Hawkeye. I respectfully. It may not be like my favorite over it, but it is the best season of Marvel television, hands down. They made the Purple Man like the most terrifying villain you could ever possibly imagine. You have no idea what's going on in that show because of that. I love that show. I need to see Jessica Jones again. I need to. I am manifesting this. I just need it. I need it. You know what I really want? See, as Matt said, imagine Jessica Jones being Yelena. What I really want, to go back to the Kate Bishop of it all, Kelly
Dalton
Thompson's
and
Kate
chat
Bishop
on the
run.
same page as you with the Kate Bishop because they want to see Vera Farmiga back as Eleanor Bishop since she worked closely with Kingpin.
Yeah, and I need Eleanor actually back as Madame Mask. I need her as that character. I think that would be a perfect MCU twist to that. And yes, I know she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., guys, but I'm sorry to tell you that is still at this point not in the main timeline. And at a certain point, it was for a hot minute, and then some weird things happen, and it just, yeah, it turned. Like, they acknowledged it in the show, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, I need to see her back as Madame Mask, but go back to it. I love, again, this run, Kelly Thompson, Kate Bishop. At one point, Kate is in LA trying to become a private eye. Who else to be better as a teacher to her than Jessica Jones? That's a great team up too.
That would be a pretty great team up. I like that one quite a bit as well. For me, my one that I think is somewhat likely, I really hope we get She-Hulk in this one. I hope we get the reverse of that series where he was visiting over in the West Coast once. Now she's going to be in New York doing some kind of case. And we get the other side of the hookup this time at Matt's place. And she just in there quick, just like he was. She helps him with something as Daredevil punches somebody in the face. And then they hook up afterwards. That is the one I'm hoping for. The dream, the one that I don't think is going to happen, but the absolute dream, it's Spidey. It's New York.
Oh, yeah.
We want to see that.
Don't put that into the world, dude.
But it's the dream scenario. It's not the thing we think is going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not. I don't think it's going to happen. It's my dream. It's in my heart of hearts. I would love to see Tom Holland and Charlie Cox reunite after No Way Home, but this time as Spider-Man and Daredevil instead of Peter and Matt. That to me is the dream. That's the best case scenario. Would be the most popular TV show in the history of television.
Save that for the big screen, baby. Big screen. That's big screen material.
That would be wonderful. That would be absolutely wonderful. I'm just trying to extend the amount of time we get to see.
I've already seen, the reason I'm so hesitant, I've already seen people being like, I know Spider-Man's going to show up. And I just have to sit people down, just be like, guys.
There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Like, no.
It would be an absolute dream. But yeah, like you said, there is absolutely no way Any more final thoughts and theories about Daredevil Born Again?
I would like to see more of New York's underground mafia, the Owl, whoever, like thrown into like start getting introduced into this too. It's not just Kingpin. And what we've pitched before with our theoretical dream Spider-Man movie is that because Wilson Fisk has left that underground. Oh, also, I don't think we mentioned. I think there's a possibility. I don't remember the actor's name, but there's someone coming in that we think maybe Wilson Fisk's son, who is the Rose, who possibly could be like stepping into that role of like the leader of New York's underbelly. And I just want to see more of that New York underbelly kind of rise because of the vacuum that Wilson left. Right? What's going on with the tracksuit mafia? I don't know. Are they still a thing, right? Like, but the people above them, I hate to bring it up, but like the tombstones of the world, and I the hammerheads too. Like I
Hammerhead, that's what I
really,
was gonna bring
yeah,
up.
I was
The
like the
Hammerhead,
hammerheads
the
too, like the owl, like
Silvermane.
Silvermane, the owl, like those are the other leaders. I want to see that grimy New York underbelly really start to bubble up, really start to gurgle up, because that becomes a huge factor in that run where Wilson Fisk is mayor of New York. Is the territories of it all.
Do you think Stick's still alive?
No.
Did he die in have we seen him die, or did it what I can't even
I'm
actually remember what happened to him.
I'm pretty sure he died.
Trying to
Season
think of what
3
other characters could
or
potentially
2
show up if we get a Misty
Defenders.
Knight coming in here at some point.
Misty Knight would be great. Luke Cage would be great. Anyone
I
but
hope
Danny
Danny's
Rand
dead.
would be great.
I hope Danny's dead.
Colleen Wing as Iron Fist would be
Colleen Wing
great.
training Lindley. Have
Sure.
Danny already be dead.
I don't want
and
to
have
push that too
Colleen training
fast. We
Lindley.
need my new Agents of Atlas first before I get Swordmaster as Iron Fist. Now everyone's excited about Marvel Rivals. Let's get there.
Yeah, fine. Give me Colleen as the Iron Fist, and Danny can already be out of there. I don't need heroes for hire with Danny and Luke. Give me heroes for hire with Luke and Colleen. That would be top tier stuff. Or if you want to include Danny, I'm all good with Danny Rand too, as long as you just give me a different Danny Rand. I would like a
Or he could
recast.
just be Danny Rand and not Iron Fist. That's
Or
fine.
that. Or have him just be Danny Rand and now
'Cause that'd be
Colleen with the Iron
hilarious.
Fist.
Bring
He's
him
just
back,
running
but
the
they're not
business.
superhero.
He's just running the business side of things.
We already know that the Rand Foundation's a thing. Thank you, Spider-Man.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That'll do it for our Daredevil Born Again primer. Everything you need to know before watching Daredevil Born Again. Who is Muse? Who is White Tiger? We dive into all the characters set to appear, all the characters we hope will appear. We did the same thing for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You can find that now up on the Agents Fandom YouTube page. We'll have Comic Corner Live every Thursday. We'll have myself, and Rachel Leishman live every Friday talking about Severance this week for season 2, episode 2. We will be joined by our friend from the Phase Hero podcast, Jamie Jirac, talking about some Severance. And then it's just going to be nonstop content for us. We're going to be talking Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, each and every week. We're going to be talking about Severance every week. And then we're just over a month, less than 6 weeks away from Daredevil Born Again coming to Disney Plus, the most anticipated show of the year. Plus, we have Captain America Brave New World only a couple weeks away. We're going to have a review podcast for that. Already trying to set some things up. I believe we'll have some of our classic guests and old friends coming in. Dave Gonzalez, author of the MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, coming in for that one. So we're going to have a blast. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the Agents Fandom YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our shows. Damon, you'll be live tomorrow, Thursday, for the Comic Corner. What are you guys going to be talking about?
Oh, man, we're going to be talking about this book right behind me, Ultimate Spider-Man. We got a little Craven's Last Hunt Ultimate Edition. We have Absolute Wonder Woman, the latest issue as well. Scarlet Witch, the latest issue of that. We have a bunch of great stuff that we'll be yapping about. Stay tuned because, I mean, guys, look, this book behind me that I've been talking about for months and months and months. One of the best, if not the best book on the shelf. This was my comic of the year last year, TJ. We did a whole thing with Jen Anderson of Phase Hero where we talked about our favorite comics of the year. If I told you that a Spider-Man book would be my number one comic of 2024. If someone told me that I would say that a year prior in 2023, I would have laughed in your face, straight up laughed in your face. That's how good this book has been.
Love it. And you'd think with Spider-Man kind of being the flagship guy, the one that is the most popular character in Marvel Studios, that they would have some more popular Spider-Man books, kind of like DC does with Batman. You know, DC's got 1,400 Batman things going on at all times, and people tend to love
there's
them.
several Spider books.
But and the Spider books don't have the same appeal other than this Ultimate Spider-Man run. I know a lot of comic folks, and I've never heard a bad thing yet. I haven't dove into the series myself, but I am looking forward to doing so at some point in the future. I usually save my comics for my traveling. Anytime I'm going somewhere that is not home, I just load up a little stack with me and try and get through some stuff. So that's usually what I save it for. Check out Ultimate Spider-Man. Check out the Comic Corner with Damon, AF, and Fat Thor every single Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time. Daredevil Born Again, coming soon. We'll see you next time. Peace.